Buongiorno a tutti. Hello everyone. Boa tarde a todos. My name is John Stelluto. I'm here representing Kariouk Architects. We are extremely excited to be here. I thank Platform for inviting this invitation to us, for extending this invitation to us. We are just a tiny office in Canada, 6-person. So it's a big deal for us to be here. Speaking of tiny, I guess I'll just jump right into the project because we have very little time. This is the project. We call it the Mora COT cabin. It's located in the small village of La Pêche in the provinces of Quebec in Canada. Well, of course, it was a human couple that sought us to design this thing, but humans are really just a fraction of the clients list for the site. And I guess many of you also imagine Canada as a sanctuary for wildlife and for this fauna and flora that we can see here. But unfortunately, similarly to many other big countries, Canada takes its natural resources for granted. And because of that, it's being ranked among the most polluting countries per capita in the world, which is truly heartbreaking. So then we asked ourselves, what can we do in face of so much harm? Is there anything a small architecture office can do? And we decided to maybe try to lead by example and do the best that we can to maybe change perspectives and make the smallest difference. A little bit about the site here. It's a 16-acre plot of land composed of forest, and there's this lake. It's really remote. It's about 5 kilometers from any public road, thus from any electricity pole. It's so remote that in the winter they don't clean the snow from the road, so the clients even have to snowshoe in. The clients, they only had 3 main criteria for the cabin. It had to be the smallest as possible, but also be able to house 6 people. It had to be accessible for aging, so no stairs. And it had to have a mindful construction that went above just naturally sourced materials. It had to have a greater connection with the land, with its existing inhabitants that I pointed earlier. And I guess that was the most challenging question for us in the design process, because the municipality required any construction to sit about 30 meters from the lake shore. That's about 100 feet. That's the first line from the left to the right that we see in that image there. And if we were to go with this approach, we would have to level the site because it's a steep hill. And by leveling, you would probably have to dynamite or excavate that would cause a lot of damage. So then we proposed to the municipality if we could build this small foundation on the flattest side of the hill. It's a concrete foundation, let's say the size of a small car, a Fiat. And then on top of that, we'd place a 20-meter mast, steel mast, that would support the cabin. And we explained that would cause less damage to the site, and they finally agreed to it. Maybe they thought it was unrealistic, but they agreed to it. Thus, we were able to have the cabin cantilevered in that mast there. It cantilevers about another 5 meters from the mast. And here we can see our office principal, Paul, beside the concrete foundation and the mast. At the top of the hill, there's another foundation, concrete foundation, so the cabin is only sitting on top of those 2 foundations there. It spans and cantilevers from the entry point at the top of the hill, about 30 meters, 100 feet. Conventionally, we were going with steel and concrete for the project, but then, again, keeping with this greater ethos, we decided to seek an alternative. That's when we started exploring with CLT. And, well, CLT has been used in construction for the last decade more and more, I guess, but it has good compressive strength, right? So it's usually used vertically, while our goal here was used horizontally. And this was the solution that we came with to overcome that problem. We created this floor assembly that is a folded plane, because CLT, we use 3-ply CLT, which is very thin and light. so it's not very good structurally. But then when you fold it, similarly to paper, I guess, it gains rigidity, in which was able to support the rest of the structure. Also resembles the shape of a canoe, which is usually a very strong object. And the roof also follows a similar idea. It's also a folded plane, a folded CLT plane, but this time it's held together by those steel ribs there that we see, and those ribs they are supported by the floor. Also, this left CLT wall here does a lot of structural work too. And because we went with CLT, we were able to really reduce the size of the panels because we needed to. The roads are not very wide, and we had to use the smallest truck as possible and the smallest crane. But then we were able to keep with that ethos of causing the least damage to the site. The whole thing was built from this single point construction station there. Then here we can see the mast under construction, and then this horizontal structure was only temporary for assembling that CLT floor that I just showed you. The horizontal steel there was then used in other parts of the project, or they were 100% recycled. Also, having the cabin elevated helps with its energy efficiency because, as I said, there's no electricity on the site, so we relies 100% on solar panels. And so by having the cabin elevated, the trees don't cast shadows upon the PV panels, which is more efficient. Also, the trees, they are deciduous trees, so in the summer they block direct summer light, and in the winter they allow for passive heating, or passive heating in the winter, passive cooling in the summer, but there's also a high efficiency wood stove in there for keeping a comfortable temperature in the winter. Well, this video, we can see the construction sequence, those two foundations with the mast, the CLT floor, CLT walls, the steel ribs that I talked about, supporting the CLT roof, and then finally the glazing, and that's the view to the lake and to the wildlife below. I guess they have wolves too. And speaking of animal life, we also try to incorporate homes for endangered bats. These brown bats, they're endangered in Quebec, but they are truly an essential part for the local ecosystem. They help to control the increasing mosquito population, which has been increasing due to warmer temperatures. And these little guys feed off them. And the goal here was to build these pods and integrate them to the mast. In this way, they would be safe from climbing predators, and they would also have a clear flight path to the lake. And they're very cute. And again, just bringing back a few comments from earlier, this steel ramp here meets the client's goals of accessibility and also use some of that recycled steel structure that I showed before. The interior was left unfinished with the exposed CLT. We just used the natural linoleum flooring. And then we can see the glazing. Most of these windows are operable, so it's good for cross ventilation. Then that high efficient stove that I talked about. But again, we know that the scope of the project is very limited when compared to all those problems that I talked about in the beginning. The idea, I guess, is to try to lead by example again, try to show how things can be built differently. So the worth of the project is not really what we built, but how we ask the questions, how we talk to the municipality, and showing that, you know, a change can be made. We are very happy with the project because it has been catching a lot of attention, especially in Canada. It has been publicized in Canadian media, not only specialized architectural media, but also daily news and magazines. So yeah, we are happy that it catches the attention of also the community and the lay people. So this quote here, "Do not give me great things, give me small things. These all make great." It was first said by Plečnik, a great Slovenian architect, but it's an ethos that the office follows, and the office principal, Paul Kariouk, also says that he wished they had said it first. So that's it. Thank you very much.